It was the summer of 1976, and London was sweltering under an unrelenting heatwave. The air in Notting Hill was thick with anticipation, as the streets buzzed with the hum of preparations for what was quickly becoming the event of the year, Notting Hill Carnival. This was not just any carnival. It was a celebration born out of struggle, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of a community that refused to be silenced. Amid the excitement was a woman named Lucille, a Trinidadian immigrant who had arrived in London a decade earlier. Lucille was a seamstress by trade, but her real passion lay in the vibrant culture of her homeland. Back in Trinidad, she had been a costume designer for the local carnival, creating dazzling outfits that glittered under the Caribbean sun. But in London, she found herself far from the warmth and vibrancy of her home, in a city where her talents were underappreciated and her culture often misunderstood. Lucille had been part of the carnival since its early days in the streets of Notting Hill, but this year felt different. The heat wave had brought with it an almost electric energy, and the Caribbean community was ready to bring the heart of their culture to the streets of London like never before. In the months leading up to the carnival, Lucille threw herself into her work, determined to create a MOS, short for masquerade, band that would be the talk of the town. She gathered a group of women from the neighborhood, mothers, daughters, and grandmothers, and together they worked late into the night, sewing feathers, sequins, and beads onto elaborate costumes that shimmered in every color of the rainbow. Each costume told a story, reflecting the myths, legends, and history of the Caribbean. As the carnival day approached, word spread about Lucille's band. People began to refer to it as the Moss Band of Dreams, for the costumes were so intricate, so full of life, that they seemed to have been plucked from the very essence of the Caribbean spirit. On the morning of the carnival, Lucille stood at the head of her band, her heart pounding with a mixture of pride and nerves. The streets of Notting Hill were already packed with spectators, eager to witness the spectacle. As the steel drums began to play, sending rhythmic vibrations through the crowd, Lucille took a deep breath and led her band into the fray. The effect was immediate. As Lucille and her Moss Band danced down the streets, the crowd erupted in cheers. The colors, the music, the energy. It was as if a piece of the Caribbean had come to life in the heart of London. The streets pulsed with the rhythm of calypso and soca, and the air was thick with the scent of jerk chicken and roti. But it wasn't just the spectacle that captured the crowd's attention. It was the stories behind the costumes. The way each piece of fabric, each feather, had been lovingly crafted by hand, by a community that had poured its soul into this celebration. Lucille's band became the embodiment of the carnival's true spirit, a fusion of cultures, a celebration of identity, and a powerful statement of resilience. That year, the Notting Hill Carnival became more than just a street party. It became a symbol of unity and cultural pride. Lucille's Moss Band was hailed as the highlight of the event, and she was invited to showcase her designs at other carnivals around the world. But for Lucille, the real victory was seeing the joy on the faces of her fellow immigrants, many of whom had felt like outsiders in their adopted city. For those few days, they weren't just surviving. They were thriving, dancing in the streets and celebrating the culture that had carried them through the hardships of life in a new land. Lucille continued to design costumes for the carnival for many years, each one more spectacular than the last. She became a beloved figure in the Notting Hill community, known not just for her artistic talent, but for the way she had brought people together through her work. The carnival grew, attracting visitors from all over the world, but it never lost its heart, the vibrant, unbreakable spirit of the Caribbean, which Lucille and her Moss Band had brought to life on that hot summer's day in 1976. And so, every year, as the drums begin to play and the streets of Notting Hill fill with color, the legacy of Lucille and her Moss Band of Dreams lives on, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, joy and celebration can triumph.